She said she was worth nothing, but the rancher held her baby like treasure. The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning, written in shaky handwriting that made Garrett Hayes pause mid-sip of his coffee. 3 words stopped his world. She needs help. Garrett set down his mug and read the letter again, this time more carefully. His Aunt Martha in Denver was asking him to take in a young woman, someone who had nowhere else to go. The woman had a baby, Martha wrote, and circumstances had left her with nothing but the clothes on her back. Now, as Garrett stood on his front porch watching a dust cloud approach his ranch, he wondered what he'd gotten himself into. The old wagon that emerged from the haze looked like it had seen better decades. When it finally rolled to a stop near his barn, he walked over slowly, his boots crunching on the dry earth. That the driver was a weathered man who tipped his hat briefly. "You Garrett Hayes?" "That's right, got a delivery for you." The man gestured toward the back of the wagon. Lady and her youngkin. Garrett's heart did something unexpected when he saw her. Clementine Ward sat huddled in the wagon bed, a tiny bundle pressed against her chest. Her dress was patched and faded, her dark hair escaping from beneath a worn bonnet. But it was her eyes that caught him. They held a kind of quiet desperation that made his chest tighten. "Ma'am," he said softly, offering his hand to help her down. She looked at his outstretched palm like it might bite her. I can manage." But when she tried to climb down while holding the baby, she stumbled. Garrett caught her elbow gently, steadying her. She was so thin he could feel the bones beneath her sleeve. "Thank you," she whispered. Not meeting his eye as the driver unloaded a single, battered carpet bag and was gone within minutes, leaving Garrett alone with this woman and child who had just become his responsibility. "I suppose you're wondering what you've gotten yourself into," Clementine said, her voice barely above a murmur. She shifted the baby a boy. Garrett could see now, maybe 3 months old with soft brown hair. "Martha probably told you I was ... respectable." Garrett removed his hat, running a hand through his dark hair. "She told me you needed help. That's enough for me." Clementine's laugh was hollow. "Help, yes. I suppose that's one way to put it." She looked down at her son, and her voice grew even quieter. "I'm nothing now, Mr. Hayes. Less than nothing. A woman with no husband, no family, no prospects. I understand if you change your mind." The baby chose that moment to fuss, making small, hungry sounds. Clementine's face flushed red as she tried to quiet him. "Come inside," Garrett said simply. "You both look like you could use a meal and some rest." His house was modest but clean. 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, and a sitting room with a large stone fireplace. Clementine stood in the doorway like she was afraid to enter. "The spare room is yours," Garrett told her. "There's a wash basin and I can heat some water if you'd like." "I can't pay you," she said suddenly. "I have nothing to offer in return for your kindness." Garrett studied her face, the proud set of her jaw. Despite everything, the way she held her son like he was the most precious thing in the world. "Who says I'm looking for payment?" Over the next few days, Garrett learned Clementine's story in careful pieces. She'd been married to a man named Thomas who died in a mining accident when she was 6 months along. His family had blamed her for his death somehow, claiming she'd been a distraction that made him careless. They'd turned her out with nothing. "They said I was cursed," she told him one evening as they sat by the fire. Little Samuel, Sammy she called him, was sleeping in her arms. "That any man who got too close to me would meet the same fate." Garrett was whittling a piece of wood, making a rattle for the baby. His hands stilled. "Do you believe that?" Clementine was quiet for a long moment. "Some days I wonder." "Well, I don't." Garrett resumed his whittling. "Some days accidents just happen. Doesn't make them anyone's fault." She looked at him then, really looked, like she was seeing him for the first time. "You're a strange man, Garrett Hayes." "How's that?" "Most men would have sent us packing by now." Garrett paused in his work. "I'm not most men." As autumn settled over the ranch, something shifted between them. Clementine began helping with small tasks, mending his shirts, cooking meals, tending the kitchen garden. She was careful never to presume, always asking permission first. But Garrett found himself looking forward to her quiet presence. The real change came the day Sammy took ill. Garrett had been out checking fences when he heard Clementine calling his name. He found her in the cabin, pacing frantically with the baby, who was burning with fever and crying weakly. "He won't eat," she said, tears streaming down her face. "He's so hot, and I don't know what to do. I've failed him. I've failed my own child." Without thinking, Garrett reached for the baby. "May I?" Clementine hesitated, then placed Sammy in his arms. The child seemed so small and fragile against Garrett's broad chest, but something about the steady warmth of the man seemed to calm him. The crying quieted 2 soft whimpers. "He needs cool water," Garrett said, his voice gentle but sure. "And willow bark tea if we can get some down him." My mother used to make it when I was small for the next 2 days. They took turns caring for Sammy. Garrett would hold him while Clementine prepared cool compresses. She would sing soft lullabies while Garrett mixed medicines. They worked together like they'd been doing it for years. On the second night, as Sammy finally slept peacefully, Clementine found Garrett sitting by the fire, still holding the baby. "He's better," she said softly. "Yes." Garrett's thumb traced gentle circles on Sammy's tiny hand. "He's a fighter. This one, you saved him." Clementine's voice cracked. "I couldn't have done it alone." Garrett looked up at her, his green eyes serious. "You weren't alone." Something broke open in Clementine's chest at those words. "Why?" she whispered. "Why do you care about us? We're nothing to you." Garrett stood carefully, still cradling Sammy, and moved to where she sat. He knelt beside her chair, the baby peaceful between them. "Look at me, Clementine." Reluctantly, she raised her eyes to his. "You are not nothing," he said firmly. "You're a mother who would do anything for her child. You're a woman who survived things that would break other people. You make this house feel like a home." He paused, his voice growing softer. "And this little boy, he's not nothing either. He's everything good and hopeful in the world." Tears spilled down Clementine's cheeks. "I'm so tired of being afraid." "Then don't be." Garrett reached up with his free hand to brush away her tears. "Stay, not as someone I'm helping, but as someone double quotes." He took a breath. "As someone I love." The word hung in the air between them like a prayer. "I love you too," Clementine whispered. "Both of you. I've loved you since that first day when you caught me falling." Garrett smiled, and it transformed his whole face. "I caught you because I knew you were worth catching." 6 months later, on a spring morning when wildflowers dotted the meadow behind the house, Garrett and Clementine stood before the circuit preacher and made their vows. Sammy, now a chubby, happy baby, gurgled contentedly in Garrett's arms throughout the ceremony, as they kissed, to seal their union. Garrett whispered against her lips, "Welcome home, Mrs. Hayes." Clementine smiled, her heart finally, truly full. She had thought she was worth nothing, but this man, this good, gentle man, had seen treasure where she saw only ruins. He had held her baby like the precious gift he was, and in doing so, had shown her that sometimes the most broken things could be made beautiful again. That evening, as they sat on their porch watching Sammy play with the wooden rattle Garrett had carved months before, Clementine leaned against her husband's shoulder. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Taking us in?" Garrett wrapped his arm around her, pulling her close. "Never. You two are the best thing that ever happened to this old ranch. We're a strange little family," she mused. "The best kind," Garrett replied, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. "The kind that chooses each other." In the distance, the sun set over their land, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, and for the first time in longer than she could remember, Clementine Ward Hayes felt truly, completely home.